Welcome to Page One, the show for writers with the reader in mind. Here's your host, Zita Christian.
Hi everyone, welcome to Page One. I'm Zita Christian. About 5 years ago, when we first started taping Page One, my very first guest on the show was a poet named Elizabeth Thomas. She's back with us tonight on show number 56, and she has a lot to share with us because a lot has happened to her in those years. So Elizabeth, thanks very much for coming back to Page One.
Thanks for inviting me back.
This is exciting. I know from our connection through the Bushnell, we have a lot of good things to talk about. You have a new book out.
Yep.
Title is?
From the Front of the Classroom.
Interesting title, yes. Were you a teacher?
No, never taught in a traditional classroom.
You teach through the Bushnell's education program, though, in the classroom?
And I do, poetry residencies. I work with youth organizations, with young people who are just interested in the spoken word, but not as a traditional teacher in a traditional classroom situation.
Okay. Well, we are going to get some material from that wonderful book shortly, but I want to talk with you about something else first, because you had an experience recently that I think would be life-changing. Perhaps I'm making an assumption, but I followed your blog, and in following the blog, I tried to imagine what it would be like if I were in the position you were in. Would you tell the audience where you went and why?
I was invited to teach for 2 weeks in the United Arab Emirates at the university there, one of the universities there, to teach young women poetry as theater.
So young women, how old?
University age, like between 18, maybe 25 at the oldest.
Okay. How did that happen? How did it come about that they invited you? Is it something you applied for, or did they know of you or have a referral?
My host there is an instructor from NYU, and I met him in 2003 at the World Scholar Athlete Games, which are at University of Rhode Island. And kids and instructors, coaches come from all over the world. Like 160 different countries are represented there, typically. Wow. And I met him in 2003 there. I was running the poetry program, and he was running the theater program. He's an internationally known playwright as well. And he uses playwriting and theater for conflict resolution. Mm-hmm. So he's done work in the Middle East. He's done work in this country with pregnancy prevention programs, with gang prevention type programs, and we just hit it off. And we remained friends. And when this came up, he was over there on the fourth year of a 4-year contract. And so, being his last year, this came up, and he thought of me as somebody to teach that aspect of a 5-pronged program.
So I think if you asked several people, they might have some different answers, but for you, why did you say yes?
The experience, to be able to work with such a uniquely different culture was exciting enough. Mm-hmm. To go over there as their guest. The generosity that I was shown while I was there was wonderful. I didn't know that I would receive that, but once there, it was wonderful. I think I just wanted to be a part of something so different from what I'm generally exposed to here, and it was quite different.
Huh? Well, tell me about your own accommodations. Where did you stay?
This is kind of a funny little story.
Yeah.
There was myself and 2 other poets. The other 2 poets were Arab poets from Dubai. And so we were all put up at a Hilton, which was so not Arab. I was disappointed. Like, they had in the dining area, they had a Mexican night, an Italian night, a Mediterranean night. I'm like, where's the Arab night, right? So it was very geared toward tourists.
Oh.
Okay, but my friend had emailed me and said, buy all the Excedrin migraine tablets that you can and bring them with you, and we'll upgrade you to a chalet.
Oh, really?
Because I guess the guy who was making the hotel arrangements has horrible migraines, and they can't get Excedrin migraine tablets there, and it's the only thing that kicks his migraines out. So I bought 600-700 tablets and brought them with me, so I got to stay in this very nice chalet there.
That's really cool.
It was.
So I want to know more about the women, because I thought maybe this was also a program open to adults in the area or something, but this was for students. So where did the students stay? Because I saw something on your blog that mentioned barbed wire. Tell me about that.
Well, at the university, it's actually the United Arab Emirates University, and I did visit a couple of other universities that may or may not have been different. I don't think they were any different, though. At this particular university, it was only women students. There were some male professors, but it was only women students. The male university was like on the other side of town, as far away as possible from the girls, because they have no place to be social. It's against the their religious beliefs. Young people cannot, male and female, cannot be social unless they're related, I guess. Be with your brother or a cousin or something like that. So they keep them completely separate. Now the boys can come and go as they please. And most of them have cars and they drive, crazily, might I add.
Oh.
The roads there are just...
Did you need some of that Excedrin yourself?
Oh, my goodness. I swear, it was like this every time I got into a car.
Wow.
It was just so insane on the roads.
Did you not drive yourself?
No.
Okay.
No. And then at the university where I was teaching, the young women, they come in on Sunday because their school week is Sunday to Thursday, Friday being, the day of, prayer, and Saturday being, a day off, I guess. They come in on Sunday. They're brought there by some male relation. They're dropped off at the university. They all get shepherded in. They go to their classes till about 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, and then they go back to their dorms. There's no cafe after 6 o'clock. There's no library to go hang out in. So even among themselves, there's no place to just hang out. They have to go back to their dorms. The dorm area is surrounded by tall fences with barbed wire.
Literally
barbed wire. And one, again, funny little story that I was told is that the girls, they can have cell phones with them, okay? The cell phones are not able to take pictures. No photos are able to be taken. Okay, so it's special cell phones. But they got the number to a Kentucky Fried Chicken. There was a Kentucky Fried Chicken down the street. And I guess they had convinced, some young person who worked there to ride his bicycle over. And for a while, he would ride over and he would put a big stone in the bottom of the bag and he'd heave the chicken over the top of the barbed wire, and then they'd take the bag, put the money in, put a little rock back in, and heave it back over the other side, right?
That's too cute.
Well, one night, he's heaving and it gets stuck in the barbed wire.
Oh, dear.
And so, it's very hot there. So the next day, it didn't take long for the chicken to really start to read.
Elizabeth,
And so one of the matrons is they're like, where's that smell coming from? And she came out and saw the Kentucky Fried Chicken bag up there with the chicken hanging out.
Oh, dear.
So that was the end of that, obviously.
It is a funny story, and you can see it almost in a movie that it would be funny. But in a way, the fact that it had to be that way in order for these women to have access to the outside world. And I realize my judgment it's a judgment statement, but it's coming from my perspective. I don't mean disrespect to their culture, but from my perspective, that's sad.
From my perspective, it is also, but it is a way of life for most of the girls. It is such a different culture. As a woman, there were times where I wanted to cry, and there were times where I had to laugh. Some of it was just so bizarre.
Did you have to dress differently? Something other than what you would normally wear?
Well, what I was told by my host before I got there was, do not pack anything that's low and shows cleavage, which I don't have to worry about that anyway. And he said, and don't wear any T-shirts that have like political statements or anything on them.
Oh, okay.
Now he's a guy, right? So I took what he said and I paid attention to it. But then I have a friend who has done a lot of travel in the Middle East, a woman.
Pip?
Yes.
Pip Pinniger?
Pip Pinniger.
She's been on page 1 also.
Yes, Pip Pinniger and her daughter were very, very helpful in terms of don't bring shorts. Capris might be okay as long as you're just working with the girls. But if you're going to be going out for dinner and some of the male instructors might be there, you probably want to wear, like I wore jeans.
And that was okay.
That was okay. I brought some nice pants. I brought long pants. I brought some long skirts. It was okay to wear sandals. Everybody wears sandals over there, so you could show your feet. I had short sleeve shirts. I didn't wear anything sleeveless. No cleavage. Mm-hmm. And that was, that was how I packed.
I want to go back to something you said just before that comment, though, that some of the things that you discovered there with the women, we were saying sometimes you wanted to cry, sometimes you wanted to laugh, and that some things were so bizarre. Like what things were bizarre?
Well, now the girls did not tell me this, but this was from conversations that I had with some of the other people that work there at the college, that for a lot of these girls going to the university, well, number one, and I did ask them this, for most of these girls, they will be the first female in their family to have an education.
Oh my gosh.
Not just to graduate from college, but to have an education. They will be, all except for one girl, they said yes. When I asked, are you the first, daughter, whatever, how about your mother? They were the first, which
wow.
To me is just, pretty unusual, pretty different, right? The other thing, now this is something that I was told by the professors, is that for a lot of these girls going to the university, they get sent there almost as finishing school. Because for many of them, even though they say when they graduate they want to be teachers or they want to go into nursing or maybe they want to work in the public sector in some way, like at the airport or something like that, I don't know. For a lot of these girls, they will go back and be expected to marry and then to have lots of children. So it's almost just a finishing school. Like, that was sad. Some of these girls have so much potential. Amazing potential.
Did that come through in the poetry?
Yes.
I know from the work that I've done with you at the Bushnell that you do something called a found poem. Mm-hmm. And on reading your blog, I know that you did a found poem with these girls. Mm-hmm. Would you share that with us? And explain a little first, what is a found poem?
Well, in this case, I asked all the girls to write on the same topic. And then I collected their papers and I took what I felt were standout lines, rearranged them into one poem. So it's a collaborative poem. I don't add any of my own words to it. It's their words.
Okay. And you have one of those?
I do. I brought
Okay.
one.
All right. And as you pull that out, I want to remind everyone that if you're just joining us, you're watching page 1. I'm Zita Christian, and my guest is Elizabeth Thomas. She is a phenomenal poet, author of From the Front of the Classroom, and has just recently come back from teaching poetry 2 weeks at a university in the United Arab Emirates. So, Elizabeth, this found poem, what do we have?
So I had asked them to write about if they could be a color or a sound or something in nature. There were several different ideas we worked with. So this is a collaborative found poem, and this is actually from the class that my host teaches normally. He would always exit the room when we arrived. He'd say, "Hi, everybody," and then he'd run out the door. So I could be alone with them, which was good.
Good.
So I like the sound of my pencil when I express my thoughts and feelings about who I am, who I might be. If I could, I would be the sound of life, of friendship and happiness on one side, the sadness and fighting of the world on the other, the sound of memories, the last tears which fall from my mother's eyes, her laughter after crying. I would be my father's glasses, the one he looks through to see me growing, the glasses he holds carefully, the glasses he cleans with all his love and sees me through when he says, "Good morning, beauty." I would be black, like a mystery no one can easily solve, like the one we each have hidden inside us where no one notices. I would be the sound of a magic door opening, the rising sun announcing a new beginning, a new page in my life, hope that there is always a chance.
Oh, gosh, Elizabeth. Excuse me. The poem itself is so rich, and to think of its origin, that these are the thoughts of these young women.
It's
Very powerful piece.
It was a complete honor to be there, to work with them.
Had they ever worked with a woman poet before, an American poet before?
No.
So this was a huge new experience for them.
And they were so excited.
Oh, I bet.
They really were. I worked with 4 classes over the course of the 2 weeks, and then a couple of other classes just meeting with them once. And the first class for each of them, I started with a poem about my father and about how my father expected of me something different than what I expected of me in my own life, and how that back and forth was always difficult, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought that would be a good way to start, a way to quickly connect, perhaps. You know, this was just my idea before I got there. Maybe I'll connect this way, and it'd be a quick connection. And for each class, it was. Like the girls could relate to that.
Sure.
Right? They understood that. And like the line in that poem about, you know, I would be my father's glasses, the one he looks through when he says, "Good morning, beauty." There's love there. They know there's love there, but there's also something else that, for me, I was able to reach beyond as an individual. Many of those girls may not be able to do that.
Well, in sort of from what were your expectations when you went, and what do you think were their expectations of the whole experience? I don't mean that you got to sightsee or something, but I mean teaching poetry to these women.
Yeah, I'm not sure I really had any expectations. What my host was hoping is that I would be able to get them to write in a more creative way, rather than the narrative school writing that they were used to doing. And he had been working with them on theater, but it's difficult because, you know, they can't have boys and girls acting together, so the girls were having to play roles of, you know, male roles, and that was difficult for them to do. You know, again, culturally, that's hard. So he was hoping through some of the writing that we did that perhaps they would get a script out of it somehow.
Amazing. If you had the chance to go back, and do the same thing again, would you do it?
Oh, yeah.
Would you do anything differently? Would you, on the trip, take anything different? Or
I would pack lighter.
Okay. Well, wouldn't we all?
I had this huge suitcase, and he had said, bring books. You'll be able to sell books while you're there. So I have this huge suitcase. The whole bottom is lined with books. And then I brought all kinds of clothes because I thought I'm going to be there for 2 weeks.
Right.
I don't want to have to go to the laundromat. I don't even know if they have laundromats. What do I know, right?
Right.
And so I had to pay extra money for my luggage.
Oh,
right?
Of course.
And then I get there and I realize that as part of my chalet, they'll do my laundry. So, I could have packed so much more lightly,
efficiently,
right? I would have sent the books ahead of time, so I wouldn't have had to pack them. And I could have come with a little small suitcase, Coming back, I was happy I had the suitcase because I did a lot of purchase. You would love it. They have this. They do lots and lots with fabrics.
Ooh.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. Elizabeth, I want to switch gears for a minute.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of things that, I would love to talk with you more about this and we'll do more another time. But another thing that I know has happened to you recently, which I think is fascinating. Garrison Keillor, Prairie Home Companion, an international radio show. Garrison Keillor just read one of your poems on his show. How did that happen?
A couple of weeks ago, I was checking my email. It was kind of late. And there was an email from his office, the Writer's Almanac office, asking me if they could have permission to use my poem.
And you said?
And I went, no, ha ha, right? I said, of course you could. I would be honored, thrilled. What do I need to do, so that you can use it? And there was just this little bit of paperwork. And
so what poem were they asking about?
It's called Lies My Mother Told Me.
And so 2 things. If there are people in the audience who did not get to hear it, because I know it's been on by the time they'll see this show, we do have a website where they can go to the Writers Almanac.org website, and they'll be able to hear the podcast. But I understand that you're going to do us a favor, and you're going to recite that poem for us tonight?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, this is wonderful. And I know the poem, and it's one of my favorites.
Okay, great.
Okay.
This way.
How about work to this camera right here?
Okay. Usually I stand, so this might be a little difficult for me to do sitting down.
Okay.
But the poem is called Lies My Mother Told Me. If you keep eating raw spaghetti, you'll get pinworms. Then I'll have to make a necklace of garlic for you to wear each night while you sleep until they go away. If you're mean to your younger brother, I'll know, because I have a special eye that spies on you when I'm not there. You cannot hide from it, so don't try. If you touch your down there anytime other than when using the toilet, your hand will turn green and fall off. If you keep crossing your eyes, they'll stay that way until the wind changes direction. It is bad luck to kill a moth, because moths are the souls of our ancestors, and it just might be Papa paying a visit. If you kiss a boy on the mouth, your lips will stick together, and he will use the opportunity to suck out your brains. If you ever lie to me, God will know and rat you out. And sometimes God exaggerates. Trust me, you don't want that to happen.
That's so good. That's so very, very good.
Thank you.
And I have to say, it does remind me of my childhood. My mother didn't tell me all of those things, but there were a few, and she had her own versions of some of the others. Mm-hmm. Did you hear the radio broadcast?
I did. God, it was so thrilling.
Oh, I bet.
It really was. He has such a distinctive voice.
Yes.
And to hear him do the poem. And it's funny, the Poetry Slam where,
yes.
At the Poetry Slam you get scored on the content and the performance, the recitation of the poem. So several friends of mine, poet friends of mine, sent me Garrison Keillor's score for the oral presentation.
Oh, how'd you do?
Not well.
Well, it wasn't his poem, and I think maybe it has to come, from your own heart. But you brought up the poetry slams. Now we only have a couple minutes left, but I do want to talk a little bit about your work with the young poets in this state, because we just this past weekend held the finals for at the Bushnell for some young poets in an event. Tell us what that was all about.
Well, Sunday at the Bushnell was the final poetry slam for the Connecticut National Youth Poetry Slam Team 2009. It's such a mouthful. But we had held 3 regional slams around the state for tryouts for the team over the last couple of months. We had one at the Buttonwood Tree in Middletown. They're such a wonderful partner for Youth Slam. We held one in New Haven at the Institute Library. And we held one, where was the third one? Oh, at Classical Magnet High School in Hartford in their Black Box Theater. So we took the top 3 poets from each of those slams. And I have to say, this year, we had the largest turnout at those tryouts than we have had in the 12 years that we've been doing this.
Oh my gosh.
The last slam at Classical Magnet, we had 22 young poets sign up to slam. It was crazy. It was crazy. 19 in New Haven and 14 at the Buttonwood Tree. It was nuts.
It's great.
So we took the top 3 from each of those slams into the finals. We had kids performing from Bridgeport, New Haven, Wallingford, Newtown, Hartford. I forget where else.
So then there were winners selected.
The top 4 poets are actually the Connecticut team, but then we take the poet in 5th and 6th place for alternates.
Good idea.
Just in case something happens and somebody can't go. But we feel pretty strongly that if all 6 really commit themselves to this, then all 6, we'll find a way to get all 6 to Brave New Voices, which is the International Youth Poetry Slam and Festival that happens in Chicago in July. Now, I say that with, completely empty pockets and wallets.
But stranger things have happened. And unfortunately, Elizabeth, and this happens all the time when I talk with you, I'm getting the signal that we're out of time.
Okay.
So I do want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for sharing that found poem from those women in United Arab Emirates. That was beautiful. And I think most importantly for the work that you're doing for young people in poetry around the state, it's important to all of us. So thank you, and we'll have you back again.
Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to say a thank you to the crew and to you in the viewing audience. Ursula Le Guin once said, "There have been civilizations that did not have the wheel, but there have been no civilizations that did not have stories." So find your own story and find a way to tell it. But do join us again next time. Thank you.
Food for the crew and guests was provided by Manchester Grill of Manchester, Connecticut, and Angelo's Restaurant of Glastonbury, Connecticut. Be sure to send your writing questions and your comments on the book club selection to Zita at page 1, P.O. Box 1515, Manchester, Connecticut, 06045-1515, or send an email to Zita at page1tv.com.